Putin is concerned about a potential revolt as a train driver is seen dangling from a balcony after displaying Ukrainian colors. After a neighbor saw some of the Russian man's belongings painted in Ukrainian flag colors, he brutally attacked him in his home. Russian media claim that a train driver was hung from a balcony for decorating his home in Ukrainian colors. After spotting Ukraine flags in the 27-year-old apartment in the city of Pechora, a police officer allegedly beat the train driver and threatened to drop him off the balcony. According to Baza, a Russian news outlet, police have begun looking into the incident. An unnamed police officer named Denis E. observed on June 8 that numerous objects in the apartment across the hall had been painted in the colors of the Ukrainian flag. Based on Baz's reporting, Denis contacted his friend, Ilya Z, and told him about the incident, explaining that he believed it to be an act of deliberate provocation. Train conductor, Nikolai L, came home to find the two men waiting for him on the balcony, pushing him over the edge and holding him high above the street. Apparently, after a few terrifying moments, the two lifted Nikolai back over the railing and began beating him. It is unclear how severely Nikolai was hurt or why the blue and yellow objects were on display. It is believed that anti-war activists in Russia have been planning displays of Ukrainian flags to coincide with the celebration of Unification Day. By decree of Vladimir Putin, Unification Day has been declared a national holiday in Russia to commemorate the country's annexation of Ukrainian territory. Concerts by patriotic rock bands were part of the Unification Day festivities that drew thousands of Russians to Red Square. A banner reading, "One Country, One Family, One Russia," was seen being waved by crowds and photographs taken in Red Square. Russia's aggressive war against Ukraine is now a matter of life and death for both countries. For Vladimir Putin's regime, which appears to equate its own security and continuity with Russia's national security, this issue has taken on existential proportions. What happens in this war will have a significant impact on Russia in the years to come. Equally important in determining when and how the war ends is the stability of the Russian regime. The future of Russia will also affect the larger security framework in Europe, and vice versa. This report, based on a thorough literature review and scenario workshop with Dutch and international experts, constructs a model of 35 variables that will collectively shape Russia's future in order to help policymakers prepare for what may lie ahead. Next, a scenario framework for the next 5 years is built on top of this model. The scenarios consider 3 factors. 1. The likelihood that the Russian regime will change or remain in place. 2. The likelihood that this will be accompanied by widespread instability and violence. And 3. The likelihood that a future government in Russia will seek either confrontation or rapprochement with the West. Based on these factors and assumptions, the report proposes 6 different futures. 1. A reluctant attempt at peace. Russia's elites band together to stage a palace coup after their country's military defeat in Ukraine. The new leader makes a deal with the West, shifts blame away from himself and onto Putin and his followers, and implements some moderate democratic and economic reforms. 2. A stooge of China's support system. There seems to be no end in sight for the endless war. Putin is removed from power as a result of poor administration, but the regime survives, and his successor wins the support of Beijing politically and economically. Russia's utter reliance on China grows. The empire retaliates in 3. Russia easily triumphs after Western backing for Ukraine collapses. Putin is more powerful and popular than ever before. Russia is able to keep its economy afloat with the help of its international partners, while the West is falling apart. Russia as a neo-Stalinist bastion. Russia is now viewed as a pariah nation thanks to Putin. Without the tacit support of China, India, and others, Russia is almost entirely on its own. The regime maintains power through a combination of propaganda and brutal repression. The Wild West, number 5. Putin's regime loses legitimacy after more public shaming and a military defeat in the south and east of Ukraine, and Russia starts to implode. Russia is experiencing a return to the lawlessness and disorder of the early 1990s. Sixth, disintegration without atomic bombs. After the Russian Federation implodes due to a devastating military defeat, local warlords seize nuclear weapons in order to threaten the survival of Muscovy's remnant government. While China and other powers recognize some entities, Moscow maintains a revisionist stance and is extremely hostile to the West.